California Edition. I'm Brad Pomerance. Our guest, Brian Dahle, member of the California State Assembly, representing beautiful areas of our great state in Northern California. And I mean way northern, not San Francisco, even above San Francisco and east a bit.
Yep. We represent 9 counties up in the northeastern part of the state.
And talk to us about the beauty of rural California and the challenges facing rural California.
You know, it's a great place for most of Californians to come to recreate in our areas, and we get a lot of natural resources from my assembly district. Most of the people that come up there are used to looking at the beauty, but we are challenged with trying to provide health care in our districts. And the reason that it's challenging is that we don't have the population base to really, as we do in the urban areas, to cost shift. And those are the issues that we're faced with in the rural areas.
And I know one of your colleagues, Dan Logue, had been a big booster of what's known as a telehealth bill, which would allow medicine to be delivered via internet, via telephone, at equitable reimbursement rates. And that seems to be a plan, got bipartisan support, signed by the governor. So there's some relief.
Yes, well, that makes sense in most areas, but when you still need a hospital there, you still need the ability to have an emergency room when you have an accident, you have people who come and climb our beautiful mountains, get hurt. We need a place for them.
So let's talk about a very specific challenge facing rural California, and that deals with the question of skilled nursing facilities. It's a bit inside baseball, but talk to us about what's happened as a result of a budget fix before you joined the Assembly.
So Assembly Bill 97 cut Medicare reimbursement rates by 10% across the board, all of California, which helped the general fund out, and it was done in last year's budget. So how that affects the rural part of the state and the hospitals that we have is we have our skilled nursing facilities next to our hospitals, so they're integrated together. So and then on top of that, they wanted to go back and collect the money.
And they are.
So they are. They're attempting to come back and collect the money. That's where we have the big issue, is that we will not be able to pay back and fund what the process that comes.
This is dramatic as you describe it. I mean, this is not just, a minor cut. As it stands today, for example, there's a skilled nursing facility in Shasta County, right near your home of Lassen County. There could be a cut of over $55 a day when you're only spending $259 a day.
Right. So our facility there in Shasta, Mayor's Memorial Hospital, is at $259. The state rate is $295. The average state rate is $295. So we're already doing a better job than the state now, and they're proposing to cut us by $59. And it simply will shut down our skilled nursing, long-term care part of our hospital, which then would impact the original hospital, which is next door. They're tied together.
And explain that. I think that's a key element, because one could argue, oh, you close the skilled nursing facility, not a big deal. They'll go elsewhere. But the ramifications, the ripple effect is dramatic.
Right, and we've done a good job of condensing, combining, and holding. It's the glue that holds it together. So those folks, if we close the skilled nursing, would have to go to San Jose or San Diego, a long ways from where they live in the true northern part of the state.
Literally.
So if we lose that, we lose our hospital, and that's the glue really that holds our little communities together. And want to make sure that when people come to visit our areas and enjoy the beautiful North State, there's a hospital there if they get injured, and we need those for our local community.
It's a challenge because, look, there are 80 members of the Assembly, 40 in the Senate. Most of them represent urban areas. You're screaming, please help us in rural California, but there just aren't that many of you to be advocates for rural California.
Right. There is another hospital in the Bay Area. I think it's a Jewish Health Center there that has faced with the same situation, but very few out there. But it's mainly the northeastern rural hospitals that are being
When we
affected.
come back, I want to talk more about this, because this is a pivotal issue for Californians. His name is Brian Dahle from the California State Assembly. For our viewers on HLN, thank you for joining us. For our other viewers, we'll be right back. So, sir, given that you do have some urban cousins in this fight, I mean, can you turn this into an issue that isn't so parochial, I guess you could say?
Well, I'm working with those members who have the same issue. Basically, what we need to be able to carve out for the rural areas, we need to relax the regulations some, definitely not make them go back and pay back what they've already been paid.
It's almost like realignment. I mean, or I misspoke, redevelopment, where with redevelopment you have to send money back to the state that was sitting in your coffers. It's painful. It's
very painful, and it just doesn't make good business sense. And so if we could relieve that, that would at least give us some footing to continue to say, if they come back and need that immediately, we will lose our long-term care, and our hospitals are in jeopardy.
So how does the Affordable Care Act impact this issue? Of course, that's what's known as Obamacare. Is there a correlation, or is this really a homegrown problem?
The Obamacare is going to add more people onto the Medicare reimbursement rate.
Right.
It's going to broaden the rolls. We're simply
So is that good or bad for this, or just irrelevant for this?
Well, it's two different situations. I mean, but it can compound it if we continue to add people and we can't even take care of the ones that we have on there. So that's the part that we're concerned about.
We do know that Governor Brown and the state, really starting with Governor Schwarzenegger, has opted to accept the additional funding for Medicaid expansion, Medi-Cal expansion. Is that impact here? We're dealing with a Medicare issue, correct? There's too many metas in
You're
here.
right.
But
let me just narrow it down.
Please.
What really is happening to us right now is we need to make sure that we are treated fairly, not have to retroactively pay back the money. And we're already doing it for a cheaper rate than the state, and so I think that because we've been doing a good job, we shouldn't be penalized for doing a good job.
And it's funny, the fact that I'm throwing out all these questions just demonstrates how complicated this really is. Because if you would have told me this, you know, in the hallway, I would have said, oh, it's an Obamacare issue, and it has nothing to do with
separate issue.
Completely separate issue. At the same time, I know that the rural counties are feeling frustrated by another issue dealing with fire protection, fire safety. And it gets further complicated by the fact that CAL FIRE has been kind of embroiled in a mini scandal similar to what happened with the park system, where money may or may not have been used. I don't know. But do talk to us about the CAL FIRE tax.
Well, I want to talk to you about they call it the state responsibility areas, which if you live in those areas, you are assessed a fee for your parcel per dwelling. It's $150, which was retroactive, by the way. You had to catch up, so they're getting two bills. I believe that's unconstitutional myself. If you pay income tax, you're paying into the state general fund, which is to take care of CAL FIRE. Your local fire district you pay into, which takes care of your fire, and now there's a third tax on there. You're getting double taxed, which I believe is unconstitutional.
How would you respond to those that would say, if one chooses to live in a higher fire zone, higher risk fire zone, that you should bear part of the financial responsibility and pay a little more? I'm sure you've heard
that.
This
sounds like a great argument, but if you already live in those higher zoned areas and you have a fire district that you pay into, you're taking care of that. So you're getting an additional tax on top of that to help offset the state's CAL FIRE's budget.
Now, we know, and
so the argument would be everybody in California should pay that fee, not just the rural folks.
So we know that there are court cases pending challenging this. We don't know what will happen there, but we also know that you are not alone in your frustration with this issue. There have been a lot of members who are trying to get this reversed. Where do we stand on the legislative side? The judicial side we'll put aside for now.
I believe there's two bills out right now that are asking to do away with the fire fee, and so they're working through the process right now.
Do you feel as if you can get the kind of bipartisan support you would need to get this bill reversed? Because in the final analysis, I mean, look, there is an argument that the state's doing better. Arguably, we're in the black now. You know, maybe we can undo this tax that seems to be causing a lot of consternation. I see you're smiling at me.
I would be happy to talk about that, and I'd like to do it. It makes sense, and I think it's unconstitutional.
But there are Democrats that represent rural areas. Yeah. It's not as if it doesn't have to be a Democrat-Republican issue. And with the state arguably in the black, can this become an example of bipartisan agreement?
I certainly hope so.
Have you heard anything about that?
And I've been working with those members who have the SRA areas in their district that are from the other side of the island. And they would agree. We'll find out here pretty quick. There's some bills, and we'll see if they get out of committee and we can move forward.
They're receptive?
You know, at the end of the day, we have to balance the budget.
I hear you.
And then there's a lot of tough decisions in that process, and I know how difficult those are.
His name is Brian Dahle, member of the California State Assembly. My name is Brad Pomerance. This is California Edition.